Those of you who've actually had sex with a friend's mom or dad, how did it go down? Best of Reddit. Daily new uploads. Subscribe and like for more. Just do it. 690. I know a girl who cheated on her BF of 5 years with his dad. She and the dad are married now. That's a mindfuck and a half. It gets worse, as the GF is now married to his dad. Doesn't it make her his mom? And if the son marries a mother, he becomes his own grandpa. Edit. Why in fucketh name are people wishing me a happy birthday? Stop it. Edit 2. I get it. Stop spamming my inbox. The cake is a lie. Now that's a story I can get behind. Futurama. Rotwell, that ends well. Never mind the GF. What a shitty dad. How about both? Well, yay. They're obviously both shitty, but he's saying that the dad is orders of magnitude shittier. I got a IRL story like this. Dude I'm distantly related to was expecting a baby with his wife. Pretty normal. He and wife start fighting. Wife tells him it's not his baby. It's done. His dad's. Dude doesn't really believe it, confronts dad. Dad cops to it. This causes issues with dude's parents and they separate. Dude's separated from his wife. So, the wife and dad move in together. Long story short, dude suddenly doesn't have a wife or family or child. Goes on big alcohol drug binge. We're pretty redneck down here. Lots of intoxicated driving. Dude gets an accident and is killed. Mom and dad reconcile while grieving. Now mom and dad and wife and new baby all live together. Welcome to Central Florida. Edit. Corrected sorry to story, even though the whole situation is pretty sorry. Edit 2. More grammatical errors. This shit's so fucked. Something tells me none of them ever really gave a fuck about that guy. What a terrible ending. I can at least partially confirm this. I met these people a few times but didn't really know them. Several mutual acquaintances though. Everyone seems of the opinion that the guy who died was the only good person out of the bunch. Not sure about the mom. Don't hear too much about her. Don't forget to leave your comment. Needed a place to stay when I was 18, so my friend's mom said I could move in with them and rent a room. Everyone in the house had a tendency to go to bed early except her and I. She liked to drink. I liked to game. One night I was bored and went out to the garage where she was drinking and listening to music. We bullshit for a while and she asked if I wanted a drink. Hell yeah I do. After I had a couple shots of Gold Skludger she started with the "Oh, my neck is so stiff. I wish someone would rub it." Being a warm-blooded teen with hormones and booze coursing through my veins, I jumped at the chance. She was 47 and had the body of someone in her early 20s. As I rubbed her shoulders, the strap on her nightgown kept falling down, showing a little more skin. She'd pick it up and let it fall further the next time. Each time I'd let my hands wander a little. After a few minutes she commented how wonderful it felt and if I'd do her back. I don't think any blood was making it past my waist, so I agreed without hesitation. We went inside. She faced away from me and pulled her gown down to her waist and laid on her stomach. I rubbed her back for a while and when I was done I half-jokingly asked if she needed the front done. She said yes, but only if I'd rub her tits. I couldn't get a single word out. I was stunned. She rolled over, titties right there for me to play with, so I waited for my brain to reboot and did as I was told. After that massage things escalated and she ended up riding me on the couch. That was the first time I had sex without a condom and I immediately saw what all the fuss was about. It happened a few more times, always started with her asking if I wanted a drink. Eventually I put an end to it because I got back with my GF and I wasn't going to cheat on her. Once I stopped having sex with the mom she flipped out on me and evicted me. I wasn't able to ever tell my friend what happened while I lived there because him and his mom got nasty when they fought. In those times nothing was sacred. Whatever they could say to hurt the other. After I moved out he called me a motherfucker one night and I laughed until I was afraid I'd pass out. When I regained my composure he asked what was so funny. I told him he wasn't a liar and told him what had happened. For 30 minutes all he could say is "You're fucking shitting me." She was 47 and had the body of someone in her early 20s. You sure that's not just beer goggles, mate? He's a gamer. Virgin Vision is very forgiving. Ah, so that's the VR everyone's been talking about. There are plenty of 20-year-olds with terrible bodies. All I can tell you is, first I was playing COD, and then I fucked your mom. I am now suspicious of every 12-year-old on earth. These are the people that got A+ in English class. You lie, you were gaming? Gamers don't get laid lol. Have you ever played Fortnite? Smirking face. Smirking face. Yes, that's why I am not getting laid. Your friends seem to take that pretty well actually. Right, erotica? They just did. Can confirm. I'm hard as hell. How do we know you're not masturbating right now? Because he posted that comment 2 hours ago. I mean, unless he was edging. Maybe don't read this while riding a stationary bike at the gym. Don't read it on a moving bike at the gym either. Good thing I don't know how to ride a bike. He liked the idea of all of us always having someplace that was more or less monitored so we weren't getting into shit we shouldn't. Well, so we weren't getting into shit we shouldn't. This is where they get you're in the fine print. You can't get into shit, but nowhere does it say they can't get into you. Hey honey, I had a great idea. We need to create a safe space. Tell all your 18-year-old gal pals, just come on over, spread out on the furniture, whatever. I'm a girl and currently turned on. Same, but I am a guy. Same. I'm weird lizard. If you are enjoying the video, subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of my new videos. How weird of a lizard. When I was in high school, my little sister's friends would come over and hang out. She was a cheerleader and then in a dance team, so most of her friends were really hot. So every once in a while, they'd come over when my sister wasn't home yet and lay around on the couch and giggle and stuff. And that's pretty much how far it got. Don't write erotica. I still finished. Well, I need a cigarette and I don't even smoke. It's gone forever. This is like my fucking fantasy. The single sexy young dad. Fuck, I'm jealous of your life. I legitimately laughed out loud after reading this. Thank you, stranger. It was my friend's aunt, not his mom, but they were like close family and always over his house. I knew her for about 10 years, but barely spoke at length with her. She had a pretty American life, husband, 3 boys, they liked camping and archery and Boy Scouts. They were always involved with family and friends and always together. Her husband had been cheating on her with their kids' friends' parents. Kind of a swinging situation, but she was out of the loop. Once she found out, she kept it secret because she didn't want to ruin the family and just dealt with denying their relationship while sleeping in the same bed. She knew for about 4 years and finally, at 40 years old and 20 years of marriage, decided to divorce him. Very messy divorce. Her ex straight told her kids that she just didn't want a family anymore and she didn't want to tell them he had cheated because she didn't want them to think of their father like that. She held true for quite a few years, but the kids were brainwashed by her ex. She was alienated from her kids. I was over my friends, her nephews, house on and off for a lot of my late teens and early 20s. He lived right down the road and us younger guys would smoke weed and hang out there all the time. The entire summer was spent at his house. I was about 23, she 42, when we just kinda started chatting at the table. She didn't smoke. She would just be visiting the family because it was all she had at that point. Every couple weeks after that we would find ourselves chatting away somewhere in or around the house or the pool. Often when people were around we kept conversations short and a lot of eye glancing and passing rubs would take the place of talk. She was definitely in great shape, cute and blonde, strong, determined, but you could tell she dealt with a lot. She was tense to the touch. She worked hard and just didn't get a good shake. We started texting because we needed each other's numbers for some Halloween party she was hosting for the extended family. Eventually intermittent texting turned flirtatious. Similar to the top post on this thread, we started to hug goodbye from seeing each other, and she would just hug a little bit longer than friendly. One night, I was house sitting for someone and told her I was doing nothing and she could come by and hang out, meet the dogs and the weird lizard they had. She accepted and I definitely experienced a type of anxiety that you could taste. She came over. We ordered Italian food. She didn't even want to be seen by the delivery driver, and that was when I knew she had some bad intentions too. We ended up in front of the TV. She just snuggled right up to my chest and my hand fell on her butt. I don't think 30 seconds went by and we looked and started kissing. I immediately started to undo her pants. As she's taking her pants off, she says she hasn't done this in 5 years and she was really nervous. It was the hottest sex I'd ever had. I remember it vividly. Also similar to the top post, she was adamant I come inside of her and she would talk about how she wanted to feel the warmth when I finish. I've never had a better sex partner. We ended up hooking up about 5 more times over the course of a year. I would go to her house a few towns over and she would make us a full dinner. We'd chat over wine, and have such amazing and fulfilling sex. We both ended up dating people, but would stay in touch. We hooked up once again when we were single again. I still see her a couple times a year when I visit for family BBQs and pool parties at my friend's house. Everything is super cool. We still glance and rub and nudge. We still hug for way too long. No one has a clue. Except Reddit. Edit. Thanks for the gold. By the way, it's true. But I agree it is tough to distinguish what stories are true or false on this thread. Let's just enjoy it, be friends, and not measure lizards, alright? And here I am thinking I'm the only one that's hung up on this detail. Yeah, I got a bit of chub just reading. Damn. I want me a cougar MILF. Edit. Okay, this whole thread is just bonus city. Could you imagine if this was the aunt? Excellently written. Maybe you've found your calling, penning aunts as well as dirty novels. I know this is odd to say, my dude, but that was beautifully written. I feel like I lived vicariously through it. I'm glad it was such a positive experience. One of my friend's dads had knocked up her mom at 16 and he was 15 and they never got married. And he's been into high school girls ever since. How weird was the lizard? I didn't read the wall of text. I see this comment. I instantly go back to read the wall of text. Real question is always in the comments. It's scaly, 4 inches long, and curves about 60 degrees to the left, but she seems to like it. Had sex with my mom's friends. Pretty traumatic experience in all honesty, so I'm sorry if this isn't the erotica you guys are looking for, haha. I was only 14, 15, whatever a freshman in high school is. She had always been the cool mom out of my mom's friend group. Hooked me up with my first job at a catering company she worked for, snuck me and my friends alcohol from time to time, etc. It was also pretty apparent her marriage was on the rocks for some time. One night we were both working a catering event together that had an open bar, and she had quite a bit to drink and began flirting a little. She would ask me questions about if I had ever been with an older woman, what I like to do to girls, weird shit, but in all honesty I went along with it at the time. Fast forward to the end of the night, she was my ride home and was too drunk to drive, so I drove her car home to my dad's place. As soon as I parked the car, she forced my hands on her breasts and started fondling my dick. I was in shock and managed to stutter something resembling "we shouldn't do this." She proceeded to coerce me and tell me I was gay if I didn't want to do it, and that it would be weird if I didn't. I eventually caved in, and proceeded to receive the most painful blowjob of my life that left actual marks on my dick and awkward van sex. I remember feeling like I wanted to throw up as I walked into my dad's house 15 minutes after I had pulled up. Not quite the wild pool boy story, but I was hoping to shed some light on how ugly these scenarios can wind up. I apologize if I made any grammar formatting mistakes as I am on mobile. Edit. This is the 4th time I was ever able to talk about this in my life. Thank you for all the support, Reddit. This what makes this platform so awesome. For those wondering, yes, I'm doing quite alright now. I dealt with a lot of men can't be raped when one day I broke down crying when my mom told me she was going to be in attendance of my going away party before I enlisted. Thankfully my parents realized that was damaging and I had zero reason to lie. I have learned to move on, and I like to believe I'll live a pretty fulfilling life now. Smiling face with squinting eyes. Where is the basically part? This is textbook rape, no different just because the genders are swapped, my dude. I assume that this happened a while ago, but I honestly hope that you were able to talk about it with someone and get through it. It's horrible that she forced herself on you after gaining your trust and making herself seem like someone to look up to. If this was more recent, you should seek out someone to talk to, not even necessarily a professional. Just someone close who understands that you really didn't want it and can comfort you. This guy knows how to story. Why don't you have a seat? Name checks out. Well, then you might enjoy our trash eveners as well. If you are enjoying the video, subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of my new videos. Yo, mama so ugly. Having sex with her sent me into a spiral of depression. Poor Ice. That's the real question. The real comment is always in the question. I've heard that's pretty normal for, lizards. I was certain I wasn't the only one, but it's always nice having that surety. I'd shit bricks in his stead. Eating your mom out is just like eating her cooking. A deeply unsatisfying effort just to make her happy. Kind of like your entire life. Yeah, he definitely knows. I was 23 and she was 44. Her son and I were friends and in college together. She was 5 feet 2 inches, thin, really cute and originally from the Dominican Republic. She had always kind of flirted with me, but I just thought that's all it was. I was wrong. A bunch of us got together and went out to have dinner on night, and she went with us. We all had fun and went back to her house. Her son and his girlfriend went to bed, and before I was able to get out the door, she asked me to sit beside her, by the fireplace. She leaned her head on my shoulder and looked up at me and asked, "Do you want to?" Couldn't say yes fast enough. She and I dated for 2.5 years. As a bonus, I learned a good deal of Spanish from her. Some of the best sex of my life. She is a well-known musician. It got weird though because she eventually met somebody her own age and started treating me like one of her kids. She has 3 daughters, yet kept inviting me over for family dinners. Got too bizarre. The hero Reddit needs. At first I was thinking, oh, this is kinda sweet. By the end I was thinking, damn, this is fucking sweet. I'll be in my bunk. Was totally convinced it was gonna be a you shit him for a second there. I mean that as a compliment as well, haha. What did she make for breakfast? The only thing worse than fucking your mom is eating her cooking. That's such a brutally savage insult. Jesus Christ. I think I'd rather get punched in the face. Edit. I'd like to thank you Dirtball231 for giving me the opportunity to win this gold here today. This one's for you, baby. We did it. Gold medal. We talkin' with orange juice? What was the pulp content? He's the mom. Hey, I said dead fish in bed. She was a spring chicken on that kitchen floor. Fav one yet. Best writing. Steven? No, I'm Steven. God, what an indictment. Bro, I fucked your mom. Wait, it gets worse. She was terrible. She just lay there. But wait, there's more. You better sit down. She made me breakfast, and it was worse than fucking her. The BJ while you were sleeping in the next room was adequate. Sorry man. Now I know why your dad killed himself. Enjoying the video? Leave a comment below. 3. Are you the friend? B. He didn't, it broke his heart. He thought he was the only one boning her. Nope. Boner is still here. Damn. I got a little chub. Keep on that. Eggs and bacon. She cooks worse than she fucks. Edit. First gold. Hell yeah, thanks. That is rape. I am so sorry dude. I hope this hasn't messed you up. It's a colloquialism, meaning in a nutshell. I'm not trying to mollify the statement. I was attempting to emphasize the gravity of it. Sorry if that came across as clunky. If this was recent, he needs to go to the police and get this rapist locked up. After reading all the comments, I learned that a marriage on the edge of divorce is perfect occasion to make your move. Also, you don't have to be that close with your friend to be friend at all. I don't know what to do with this information. Edit. So many suggestions, but I think I'll keep vanilla dating with actually single people without any awkward ties with my social circle just to be safe. And I hope I'll get called motherfucker only by my possible future child. Improvise, adapt, overcome. To be fair, going off by your username, you seem to be the kind of person that would benefit from that. Can't believe I dropped the ball here. If she's so ugly, why'd you have sex with her? She was ugly on the inside. Pretty sure your buddy had it rougher after finding out all his friends boned his mom. It sent him into a pretty serious depression and fucked up his views of sex since. When I was 20, the friend in question's mom could get us into a bar her friend owns every week. Me and 3 friends would go and she would buy every drink and be over all of us. One night after her son crapped out early, I just said the hell with it. Went along with it. When we got back to the house, she was hot for a mom but a dead fish in bed, so it felt really underwhelming to say the least. Anyway, she made me breakfast the next morning, blew me real fast and took me home all before he woke up. To this day the friend I am pretty sure knows, but we don't talk about it. Horrible story, but I'm giving you a sympathy upvote. You were basically raped as a minor. Hannah, no worries. Sometimes it can be hard to convey certain things over text. Either way, horrible what happened to the OP. He should probably go to the police anyway, since this is completely predatory behavior by this person. I hope the OP above feels supported in the replies enough to do something. This person should not get away with this. Just means you get to be the father mother in the story. Or just fucking plow through. You see, the trick is to make friends with younger kids to get to the moms. Hey, why is the FBI here? Bro, thanks for our trash banner. I just wasted like 10 minutes. Don't forget to leave your comment. Hey Paul, I'm suffering from depression after fucking your mom. Please help. In all seriousness though, I hope you have mentally recovered from that. That's deep, bro. So he wasn't really a friend per se. I used to buy weed off him in my mid-20s and he was about 20 and lived with his mom. She was late 40s. Definitely our trash of a material. Went by once and he was just leaving. His mom asked if I wanted to drive her to the bar. Turns out she had had a few and currently had a breathalyzer in her car. I knew I was getting late whether I wanted it or not. Anyway, fun night. Never went by there again. But did he find out? OMG. Totally lost my boner. What a horrible turn of events. What? Oh my god, they were roommates. Saru, you were sleeping with some old dude when you were in high school. Edit. Okay, I get it now. She and the friend used to go to that high school. Old high school daughter went there. Her daughter dumped me for a guy she didn't like and I fell on hard times with my mom. So I would occasionally go over there to shower and eat something. She was in her 40s. Very thin but had a very nice face and was always very nice to me. I was 18 and always very complimentary to her and thankful for her helping me out. She was helping me without her daughter's knowledge as well. One day our hug goodbye got really long. She wouldn't let go, but she wasn't doing anything else. Just hanging on very tight. Being 18 and because of our relationship, I developed an instant erection. I guess she felt it and nuzzled closer. I started kissing her neck, pulled her dress up. I guess her husband didn't really pay attention to her. Something I didn't notice or pay attention to while I was dating her daughter. We went at it for a few hours as the house was empty. She must have been pent up. It was honestly surreal. It didn't set in for a few days. My ex and my friends were all intertwined. I couldn't tell anyone and never have. Happened a few more times until I had my life in order and it seemed like she was starting to regret cheating on her husband. Would only let me come inside of her. Which blew my mind as I had been constantly pulling out of her daughter for fear of the obvious. It definitely made being dumped by my first girlfriend a lot easier to deal with. I wasn't too young to understand what could happen, but maybe too inexperienced to refuse. It's called thinking with your other brain. Sometimes leads to bad decisions, especially when young. In my mind, she had kids and knew what could happen, so she wouldn't let me come inside of her unless she knew what she was doing. Considering you said she was in her 40s, I'd be willing to bet she was menopausal and thus could no longer get pregnant. Would have been kind of her to tell you that she was safe though so you wouldn't have to worry. Sex is so unbelievably pleasurable and ends on such a high, at least for the male, that it just incentivizes and rewards mating and reproduction. There is also a theory that the female orgasmic contractions are designed to essentially siphon the semen deep inside to maximize the chances of successful fertilization. If you want near guaranteed pregnancy, finish hard, finish deep, finish together if you can. That's also really fun. I don't have kids but I have a male buddy who does. He says that trying for a baby is the most amazing sex you will ever have, because it's unprotected and you get the full sensations. You don't fear the consequences because you want the consequences, and your mutual desire to become parents just makes it a very emotional bonding experience done for a very special reason. In other words, it's totally uninhibited and you can really just enjoy yourselves. Lots of animals have mating seasons and can't mate all year round like humans can. Humans are also one of just a handful of species that have sex recreationally and for fun. 40s is still pretty young to be menopausal, dude. I had sex with my son's girlfriend's mom. Does that count? Am I the only one who paranoiacally scans the end of each post before reading it to make sure I don't fall for the "you're pulling my leg" copper pasta? Threads like this remind me that I have lived an aggressively boring life and I want to fucking die already. I was saying Booerns. Being given those instructions is like +3 arousal and tends to cause immediate payoff. Purposely get pregnant, not maliciously, mind you. I'm sorry, not really related, but I'm watching a baseball game right now, and when I read the last two words my brain thought it was actually a notification about a home run and I panicked for a second. I swear I've seen you in a video somewhere. I didn't know he was her dad. He was just someone I was sleeping with, but one night when we were out driving, we drove past my old high school and he mentioned that his daughter went there. I made a connection with the surname and asked. He confirmed. And they were roommates. Alright. LMAO. This reminded me of something that happened recently. Went to Mexico with my GFS family and, after a night of drinks, we were all saying goodnight before heading to our rooms. GFS stepmom comes in for a hug and goes to plant a kiss on my cheek. She had never done that before, and me being drunk and not knowing what she was going to do, I kind of moved my head and she kissed me right on the mouth. We laughed about it and she's like, "You're not supposed to turn your head." Haven't talked about it since, but it's pretty funny. Don't forget to leave your comment. I wasn't too young to understand what could happen, but maybe too inexperienced to refuse. In my mind, she had kids and knew what could happen, so she wouldn't let me come inside of her unless she knew what she was doing. Go to that love double home run. Yeah, Blue Jays. Your ex-GF was Stacy? We did mommy-son incest roleplay and fucked. My god, it was so hot. You what, M8? She fucked her dad. Edit. Or he. These are the little corners of Reddit I like best. No, he's just a guy who dates high school chicks and middle-aged men. Not sex. But at a good friend's wedding, I was saying goodbye to everyone and decided to do the kiss on the cheek thing with his mom, and she was thinking the same thing. We ended up kissing on the lips. Don't do that anymore. Would only let me come inside of her, which blew my mind as I had been constantly pulling out of her daughter for fear of the obvious. Either she was no longer capable, or she was on the pill, or worse yet, she was trying to purposely get pregnant, not maliciously, mind you. Edit. Should have clarified, not maliciously in her mind. I want to get pregnant, but my husband is shooting blanks. The act itself was malicious if that was the case. Yay. I was more thinking, holy shit, I'm fucking my ex-girlfriend's mom on repeat the entire time. When she told me to come inside, I can't recall even having a thought otherwise. Let's get him, fellas. I was warning her that it was going to happen soon, as I wasn't sure of the house rules, so to speak. Yay. It was my first time doing that and it blew my fucking mind. After it happens, you immediately understand how there are so many children in the world. You also get this if there is no chance of pregnancy. Best decision I ever made. Yeah, I don't know how many women are menopausal in their 40s. Just in case it is not clear to the younger Reddit viewers here, pulling out is an absolutely shit-tastic way of preventing pregnancy. I am one of 4 children. 3 of us are because my parents were relying on the withdrawal method. Use real birth control or expect to get pregnant. Where you come is not going to change the odds much. There's a post on our Black People Twitter right now about that. Edit. Reddit webpage. I mean, yay. That would totally make any breakup a lot easier to deal with. In hindsight, this is one of the more crazy stories. It's very fantasy-like. Long hug, neck kisses, dress lift, mad sex, home run. Downvoted you to get you to 69. Any other circumstance and you would have had my upvote. Haha, aka this did not give you a boner. When she told me to come inside, I can't recall even having a thought otherwise. 99,999,999 brain cells screaming yes. 1 brain cell that sounds like Moleman squeaking no. Oh, number 1 brain cell probably. Just in case it is not clear to the younger Reddit viewers here, pulling out is an absolutely shit-tastic way of preventing pregnancy. I am one of 4 children. 3 of us are because my parents were relying on the withdrawal method. Use real birth control or expect to get pregnant. Where you come is not going to change the odds much. Edit. A lot withdrawal enthusiasts in this thread. People claiming 96% effectiveness, or talking about how they've been using withdrawal for 5, 10, 15 years and never gotten pregnant. Anecdotes are science. The facts. Used perfectly, withdrawal does have about a 96% success rate over a year, compared to 98% for condoms, and 99.9% for the pill and IUDs. However, the real world is not perfect, and for the typical couple, those numbers are going to drop to more like 75% for withdrawal. 88% for condoms, and 95% for the pill. It doesn't really drop for IUDs. So ask yourself, are you perfect? Trick question. You're not. You think you are, but the reality is you are more or less just as likely as anyone else to fuck it up. So if it is very important to you not to get pregnant, if you are not in a long-term stable relationship, where an accidental baby would be fine, I would not rely on withdrawal. I would reach for the most effective contraceptive you have available, which is probably the pill, but certainly condoms. Also, STDs are a thing, and only condoms are good for those. So let's not forget that. The math. For everyone coming out of the woodwork with their stories about how long they've been using withdrawal, congratulations on your success. I am not remotely surprised. It's not that unlikely, and I never said it was. I just used colorful language to explain that I don't think it's a gamble worth taking when there are cheap and more effective options readily available to most of us. Let's say you've been pulling out for 5 years. If there is a success rate of 75% over 1 year, just multiple 0.75 by itself 5 times, or raise it to the power of 5, to get the typical success rate after 5 years. 0.75 0.75 0.75 0.75 0.75 equals 0.24. A 24% success rate over 5 years. So if the 485 people who have upvoted this comment so far had all been using withdrawal for 5 years, 116 of them would never have gotten pregnant. That's a lot. And I bet all 116 of them would be really eager to tell me about it. Of course, 369 of you would be getting really good at changing diapers. I had sex with an ex-girlfriend's mom. She broke up with me and a couple of weeks later I ran into her mom in the grocery store. Her mom commented that she missed me being around and I said I missed her too. She was a pretty cool mom. She told me that her divorce got finalized. Her sister was going to move in and some other small talk type stuff that we both shared as we walked around the store. I helped her put her groceries in her car and she hugged me. She told me I should come over sometime and see her new paintings. She was an artist. I went over a week or so later and she served me some wine and basically seduced me and introduced me to roleplay at the same time. We did mommy-son incest roleplay and fucked. My god, it was so hot. We saw each other for over a year and then she moved. I miss her sometimes. He played mommy-son roleplay while he fucked his ex's mom. Using a throwaway. I was the friend. Parents had me young. Mum left but dad kept me and raised me as a single parent. In my teenage years I met a friend who I'll call Felicia. She had a huge crush on my dad and tended to stutter in his presence. Don't know if dad knew or if he just assumed she was like that in general. I was her only friend and he knew that. She got bullied a lot in school. He knew about that, too. She also had a rough home life, so she was over at my place a lot. Said she only really felt safe at my house. Before you start railing on my dad, nothing happened back then. She was a kid and looked like one, had horrible acne and her personal hygiene wasn't the best. I had to remind her to take showers. But, life happened. We graduated, moved on. We both got boyfriends. Made new friends but we kept in touch. I went to uni, she did, but dropped out because she got pregnant with her then boyfriend. They ended up breaking up. He was a shitbag who wasn't any better than her dad. Stalked her, too. Still remember her calling me in tears because he'd come to her apartment to threaten her and she was losing her shit and refused to call the cops. Eventually she had the baby. To make things even fucking worse, the kid got cancer and died as a toddler. She was destitute. I was engaged by now and we couldn't take her in, but she was in pieces and the way she was talking, I was terrified she was going to off herself. None of our friends could take her in either and her ex was starting up again with his bullshit. He'd lost interest in her after the baby was born, but after she died, decided it was all my friend's fault. I ended up calling my dad begging him to let Felicia have my old room. He'd talked about selling up but the house was fully paid off and he never got around to it. He sort of shrugged and went, why not? She was a good kid. He hadn't seen her for years at that point and I think he was lonely after I moved out. So he let her stay rent-free until she got back on her feet. Even paid for her to get counseling. In exchange she cleaned the house and helped him redo the garden. Anyway, she never moved out. My dad has always been really generous, and I guess he saw a kindred spirit in Felicia since she was also pregnant young, and he's never wanted people to go through what he did. So I wasn't surprised that her stay was lasting a long time. They genuinely seemed to become friends. And my dad seemed happy again now the house wasn't empty. 3 years after she moved in, my friend guiltily fessed up. She'd been sleeping with my father for 2 years. They ended up getting married. Our kids are both 10. It is super weird that I have a baby half-brother through them, but they're all happy, and to this day if they divorced I still don't know who's a sidekick. Visits home are still a bit weird though. It's not awkward. Not exactly. Just weird. I'm looking for the mankind falling through the cage in Hell in a Cell. Enjoying the video? Leave a comment below. 3. Just remember there's only like 20 stories out of tens of thousands of readers, and half of those might be fake. This is the best Suicide Squad review I've ever read. So I might be based. I bet you are. Finally, a contribution I can make. Throwaway for purposes. First started with some friends from work in a group chat. Let's call the friend in question Dave. For months we were told stories by Dave about his relationship with his mother, and all the stupid shit she would do when he was growing up. Don't remember exactly, but it wasn't sexual between them. It was just too much information. I really never cared for Dave, as he was a one-upper in every conversation. You did that? Oh yeah, I've done that backwards. I've caught a fish this big. Imagine that being a grown man's arms. During some of these conversations, the joke started about fucking Dave's mom. I was kind of the ringleader on the joke train. Fast forward to maybe 6 months, and the group chat was still going. I was moved to a different building for a different job. While I was there, word came through that Dave's mom was actually getting hired at the company. I giggled to myself, and continued on. Little did I know that his mom would be on my team, and her cubicle was right next to mine. Once I saw her, I was immediately attracted to her. She was a little older, 48, and had a nice body, and had this aura to her that she knows she can get what she wants. I've always been a flirt, and I'm pretty personable to most around me, so we start talking as I have a natural in as Dave's friend. We at times kind of shit talked on him between the two of us, but it wasn't anything terrible. After a few weeks of flirting, I asked her if she wanted to go out for beers. She said sure. Why don't you come over to my house and we will have dinner? Dinner and drinks were had. After dinner we were conversing, and come to find out we had a lot of things in common, and one of them being very affectionate. She came over and sat next to me, and the touching started to happen. One thing led to another, and we ended upstairs in her room. Did I see Dave's picture on the wall as we were going up? Yes. And did it stop anything? No. This was probably some of the best sex of my life. She was completely giving, and due to her doing Bikram hot yoga for many years, very flexible. She took complete control, as I was her amusement park. She even knew how to twerk while being on top, which was incredible. I tested her flexibility, and surprisingly both legs got behind her head. After all is said and done, I head downstairs for some water. I was thirsty after being taken to my limits. As I passed by my friend's picture on the wall, I of course gave the picture a little fist bump. We were hanging out for a few weeks, and I had to call it off as I didn't want to end up having to tell my friend I was dating his mom. TLDR. Joked about having sex with friend's mom. Met said mom. Had sex with friend's mom. Broke it off, because friend and she turned a little cray. I hope that it was. She came over and sat next to me, and the touching started to happen. Like bags of sand. That was the non-funny part of the story. She just became very clingy and dramatic about everything. My balls just retracted into my body from reading that. My balls just got extracted from reading that. Please send help, my GF is insane. You have a cig outside after that encounter? God knows I would have. After reading a few of these, I feel very fortunate to have had a positive experience. I knew I wanted her the moment I saw her, but this happens a lot. I'm sure you've seen someone on the street and thought of the things you'd like to do with them if you had the opportunity. I didn't say or do anything about it for months, until I playfully invited her to see a movie with me. It's a harmless thing to ask, right? We exchanged numbers, and while texting she sent the first naughty message. We stayed up all night sexting. I felt like I was dreaming. We met the following night and made out in her car. I couldn't believe how quickly things were escalating, but she admitted how she felt about me for the past few months as well, right down to being attracted to my voice. She went down on me in her car the same night. 2 days later, she booked a hotel and we fucked for the first time. It was incredible. I had never come so hard before. I hit the painting on the wall above the bed. Sorry anyone who stays in that room. This went on almost a week for over a year. It was the best time of my life. I grew so much as a person. All my regrets and mistakes I ever made were washed away. Everything I ever did or happened to me didn't matter anymore, because it somehow led me to her. In this life, in this timeline. I wish I met her sooner, before she wound up in a shitty marriage, but I know that's impossible. I loved her and still do. We stopped because she needed to focus on her role in her son's life as his mother. She wasn't young like me. Can't just live like that at that stage anymore. I hope she's still getting her sexual release somehow. I can't imagine how much torture it is to be trapped in a loveless marriage. To bring a little humor into this, we eventually saw a movie months into whatever it was we had. We saw Suicide Squad. I liked it, but she also gave me head in the theater parking lot before we went in, so I might be biased. Thanks for reading, and please don't settle for someone you don't love or doesn't love you back. Jared Leto wasn't my favorite, but now I can overlook that. I give it a 5 bags of popcorn and a parking lot BJ. After reading all these comments, all I can say is you all need Jesus in your life. Holy water, confessions, the whole shebang. The fact that I've got a raging hard on is irrelevant. Really thought this was going to end in tree-fitty. For the record, this is not about me or my mom. Also, I need about tree-fitty. TLDR has mom going cray. Actual story doesn't. How you mean OP? Nice. I was just at a concert and the girl in front of me slammed her fist into my junk while dancing. High five bro. I just got the weirdest boner from reading your comment. See you later virgins. Nice. Is this what we're doing today? We're going to jack off? You Dosamispeakin stalked me online for months. Used to send me naked pictures of his family and everything. Had to get the cops involved eventually. Was being a teenage edgelord. You obviously didn't age. LOL 57 upvotes would have turned into 80k downvotes and rape claims if it would have been a guy fucking a girl at 15. No sex. Because I stopped myself. I was 18 and it was my very hot aunt by marriage who was my uncle's wife and my mom's good friend. I visited her sometimes when the uncle wasn't around because she was the cool aunt who was always telling me, hey, stop by any time and use my place like a crash pad during the day. Bring your GF if I'm not around and do whatever you guys do. I'll give you a key. You know me. I'm cool. I found out just how cool she was. I stopped by one day and she was drinking a bit and she made a little joke about me being a big boy and then pushed up hard. I had very little self-control and dove at her. She laughed and we started to get into it, but she pushed me back slightly and told me to slow down because we had time. That snapped me out of it enough to make me realize that if I did this, at some point she was going to piss off at my uncle and let it slip as a fuck you to him, and I was eventually going to have to deal with my uncle and cousin and mom. Not worth it. Noped out of there. Would have been hot but could have wrecked a lot of stuff. Much better not to have. Enjoying the video, leave a comment below. 3. Your head was wiser than the other one. Friend of mine slept with my sister and kept making a big deal about it. I honestly could have cared less, and his mom was always making offhand sexual comments when I was around her, so I decided to go for it. She had him when she was 16. We were around 18-19, so she wasn't old and still looked pretty good. Came through one day knowing he wasn't there after flirting with her pretty hard for a few weeks and she almost immediately jumped my bones. We slept together for a while after and neither of us ever said a word about it. It was fun while it lasted and I didn't stay friends with the guy for other reasons. But anytime he mentioned that he slept with my sister, I had the satisfaction of knowing his mom was extremely into ATM and fucked like a champion. A2M, ATM, since people wanna be anal about it. Leaving the other one cause I couldn't care less. You motherfucker. My buddy's mom had recently gotten divorced. I went to his house looking for him so we could go play baseball. He had already left but she invited me in anyway. Shit escalated quick. Other one was a woman I worked with. She asked if I wanted to go out for drinks one night. I had a fake kid so I went for it. Went back to her place and did the deed. Woke up the next morning to her making breakfast. Went into the kitchen to see her and her 2 kids were sitting at the kitchen table. Recognized them instantly. I previously dated her daughter freshman year and I played football with her son. I had no idea how old she was when I went out with her and didn't know her kids were older. Are you Paul Finch by the way? Had a GF in 6th and 7th grade. Moved away at the beginning of 8th. Met back up with GF after high school. She was in a relationship so we never pursued a relationship. I ended up getting married some years later and divorced a few years after that. Was on a post-divorce prowl and friended her mom on Facebook to see what the old GF was up to. She was living in another state with her new husband and infant. Her mom asked me to lunch to catch up. Catching up turned into her revealing she always thought I was a special person and always hoped I'd end up with her daughter. I could tell she was totally into me and came across as being very lonely from her recent divorce, so I just made the move and she practically threw herself at me, kissing me like she'd been starving for affection. I slid my hand under her shirt and then under her bra. I hesitated when I realized she had a t-shirt on under her bra. It took a second to click that her family was Mormon and this was her magical underwear. I wasn't about to let that ruin my fun, so I ripped her clothes off and fucked her every way imaginable. I could tell by her reaction and pleasantly surprised looks that she'd never done half of the things I did to her. Went at it for an hour and a half, and when we were done she just played there in shock. I asked if she was okay and she just continued to stare at the ceiling and said, "That was the best sex of my life." She continued on about how she hadn't had sex with her husband since she became pregnant with her then 9-year-old daughter and how she'd never experienced that kind of passion with him. I believe she was only ever with her husband, and it kind of made me sad that this 46-year-old woman had never made love. I felt really bad after that night because she had made it clear that she wanted a relationship with me. I knew I couldn't give her what she wanted, so I chose to avoid her. I ran into her a few years later after I had remarried and she told me she was heartbroken after I stopped talking to her and that she had cried and cried when she found out I was married. She said she told her bishop what had happened, but that she didn't regret it because it was the single most enjoyable moment of her life. I always had the hots for her, and when I was 16 we made out at New Year's. Nothing happened except some decent text messages and one other makeout session for another year, and I moved away. Fast forward 4 years and I am 21 and living back in my hometown. She had 3 kids, all my age, and we hung out occasionally. We got drunk one night and I promised my friend I wasn't gonna bang his mom. Well, she started cuddling up close to me and it was game over. 10/10 would bang again. Big, if true. I was mowing down noobs and all 5 moms got wet and I had sex with all of them. Maybe it smelled different. It all started when I broke both my arms. This is exactly what Pence was trying to avoid. Then the bully started applauding and also gave him $100. He walked in on me and said, "No you. Damn it, Michael. A2M equals S to mouth, exit. My 10,000 Karma Club entrance used the back door : Still looked pretty good at 34. LOL. Every time I hear read S to mouth, I think of Clarks too. I wouldn't call us friends OP. But your dad was very gentle. What a tastefully written account. Nice. Ooh, I can answer this. I actually met the dad first through drunken shenanigans and a different friend and I ended up moving in with him, using certain parts of my body to subsidize my rent. And then I met his daughter and she became one of my best friends. She didn't find out about the dad stuff for almost a year. She needed a small break from our friendship when it first came out, haha. We're still friends now though. 90% of literotica writing is trash. I'm just going to save this post. No sex, but my good friend's mom gave me my first alcoholic drink, Screwdriver, one night when we were sitting around bored. Then she jerked me off for a while and kissed my cock a bunch till I came. I had been helping my friend with yard work and I was spending the night, so I took a shower there. I was getting dressed in his room when the mom walked in. I was at that awkward point of putting on boxer briefs on wet legs, so I just quickly grabbed my junk and stood up shocked. She lingered for a little too long and then said, "You have a really nice body," then she disappeared for a while. Later my friend gave me his little signal that he was gonna go masturbate in his room, so I put some old movie on in a different room and sat down to watch it. In came the mom with another screwdriver. A few minutes later I was gulping down another drink. The movie finished, so I stood up to put another one in, stretched, and realized I was sporting a massive hard-on. The mom noticed too and started groping it and telling me how big it was for my age and all this stuff. I freaked out for maybe half a second, but then she pulled it out and started jerking me off. She kept stopping though, and telling me I was too young and that I was just a boy. Of course by then I just wanted her to keep going and I was begging for it. Then she started kissing it and jerking it at the same time and I came like a sprinkler all over their couch and this pillow. I'll never forget this pillow with an ocean scene on it. The dad was using it the next day as I was leaving. The mom, did I mention these are Jehovah's Witnesses, ended up telling her elder, higher up in JW Church, what had happened and we all had to sit down together and talk about it. I lied and said I didn't remember anything after the second screwdriver. When I was 19, I ended up in a mental hospital for a suicide attempt and one of the ladies in one of my group therapy groups was the mom of this guy I had gone to high school with. She was separated from her husband at the time and she and I got along well. After I got out of the hospital she and I would hang out and talk or go to the movies. One day, I apparently seduced her, not exactly on purpose, and we sorta started sleeping together a lot. She divorced her husband, told her family she was a lesbian and said she felt like she always had been gay but didn't know it. She went full on LGBT empowerment. This was the early 90s in the Bible Belt and she was a just out 48-year-old. She started dating different women and last I saw her, she seemed very happy. I don't think her son ever knew it was me that turned his family upside down. Is that an American Pie reference? Enjoying the video, leave a comment below. 3. Enough that happened to last a few years. I worked at a fine dining restaurant and was friends with the hostess who was a few years younger than me. Her mother, who I was also friends with, was the Grams. A drunken night and lots of blow. We had a fun time. Erective factual. Not the person having sex but the friend child. Mother and current roommate at the time both were warned about the other's issues and that they were unreliable. Decided to lie to me for months and have a casual sexual relationship, telling me that they were going out with a friend or whatever. Up to them. They are adults. Then I get both of them trying to use me to hurt the other and trying to twist the story. Her mum's other casual guy emailed the roommate claiming that said roomie got her pregnant and left her alone through it. Ectopic pregnancy BTW. She can't have kids anymore anyway. How roomie was unreliable, let her down, upset her, was sleeping with her behind my back. Both got very quickly told I wouldn't be their person in the middle of this bullshit to hurt each other. They'd both been warned the other wasn't to be trusted because of various reasons, and if they'd asked I'd have told them outright it was up to them, but the personality clash would be a huge issue. Passing remark from mother. Oh, I knew it wouldn't last. It was only a bit of fun. Yes, with the guy I was on a lease with as a friend who I'd already told you about his addictions, lies and inability to actually follow through with anything. Oh, and that I have to live with for 8 months more? Go get your fun elsewhere and keep me out of it. Roomie's excuse, but I kinda got entranced with the idea I could be your stepfather. Shudder, get more bleach. Shudder. I don't speak to either of them now since they didn't take the warning and still tried to use me in other ways. That's enough Reddit for one day. I knew that would show up. Your own mom doesn't count though. This is quite fake. But he made damn sure the bully heard him screwing his dad. Hey bully, I'm screwing my dad. ATM. What was your daily withdrawal limit? Currently 32. I've met some pretty rough looking women that are around my age. Life and parenting aren't kind to everyone, lol. I was 18 and my GF and I went to the zoo with her mom and my GF ended up throwing some kind of temper tantrum. Since her mother drove, it was an awkward car ride home. I wouldn't even talk to her, and I looked over and she was giving me a death stare and said, "Do you want to break up?" I sat there for a second and her mom said she was going to drop her, my GF, and drive me the rest of the way home. I said yeah I do. She dropped her daughter off and drove me home. I joked that my plan to get to her via her daughter had worked. She laughed at that and said I'd be lost and have no idea what to do with her. I blushed so hard at that and she saw it. It took me a few minutes to gather my thoughts and figured, fuck it, I'm going to flirt. Her mom since the day I met her would always wear tighter shirts and hiffing jeans around me. She was a recently divorced woman who may have been lonely, who knows. So I made a flirty comment about her looking fitter every time I came over. We get back to my house. My parents aren't there and she had joked about taking the day off to come and use my pool. So I used that and said, it's a great night for night swimming. I fully expected her to just laugh and tell me to get out. But she said okay and there I was with my now ex-GF's mother in my pool. She's in her undies and we are making out. The following weekend my now ex went to her dad's for the weekend and I stayed the weekend with her mother and we messed around. It went on for a few weeks more but broke it off when her daughter started suspecting it. I don't regret it and we both had a lot of fun. Edit. Yes, we fucked. Yes. Line up boys and girls. Let's do this. It all started on Xbox Live. Is anyone else in here arc hard? Nah, just bummed out none of my friends' moms ever flirted with me then proceeded to have sex with me while growing up. Today OP learned about the serious tag. Hello Steven. What are things that didn't happen? I shared a story on Askreddit that happened to be a couple people commented linking that happened. Some people just don't like to believe things happen. Was she awake during sex? That was 20 plus years ago. Don't miss her. Now, you're the old guy. In bird culture, this is considered a dick move. She was a slender woman and a very young 94. Not a friend, but a bully. He bullied me for being queer so I fucked his dad. I made damn sure he could hear me screwing his dad. The bullying stopped. His parents were already heading for a divorce and I just pushed them closer to a divorce. Now they are separated and now he is married to a nice man. I'm not what you would call an intellectual or an experienced person, but I think that maybe a gay man fucking another gay man is pretty gay. Enjoying the video, leave a comment below. 3. When you get bullied for being gay so you make up a hero story for internet points. Once I had sex with Arp's mom. She told me she would never forget it, because she is an elephant. Well, he's at 174 now so you might as well change it. My buddy does this about my sister he fucked after I moved away to college. But I don't mention that I used to fuck his now wife right before they started dating. Is his now wife your sister? If so, roll tide. Like a true gentleman you kept your mouth shut even when he was running his. Could have ruined a mom-son relationship or worse. She would stop sleeping with his friends. Whatever man. I fucked your mom in the ass. Haha, fuck you. And then I'd like to think that a seed of doubt was nonetheless planted, festering throughout years of harmless flirtatious comments from mom to his better looking friends. And then there was that one time he found an empty bottle of something called backdoor glide in the recycling bin. And, eureka, motherfucker. So here's to you Mrs. Robinson. Balls deep in her dome. You sir, are a modern day Shakespeare. Nothing ever happens would love that. Stacy's mom, in fact, has got it going on. I am vigilantly reading the last sentence of each post first. Not gonna get me with that hell in a cell bullshit today. OMG, your friend's mom thinks her son did it. I was at a friend's house and his hot mom hugged me 10/10 would hug again. Weaponize gay. You're doing good work out there. Keep it up. The bullying stopped. And here is where you revealed yourself to be a bullshitter. And then everyone stood up and clapped. It was at her daughter's wedding. I sat next to her in church. I was pretty pissed that I didn't have a bigger role in the wedding. I was her boss at the time after all. I asked her mom if she had a snack and she gave me a candy bar. I think it was apricot. It was disgusting. I had a hard time swallowing it. That's what she said. One thing led to another. I ended up spending the night with her. Dated her for a while. Until I found out that she was going to be a grandmother. Dumped her on her birthday. Cold fever. Unlimited withdrawals of my dick from her butt and putting it in her mouth. Top-notch customer service. When I was 18, women in their mid-30s seemed ancient. Making out. Messing around. Did y'all fuck or not? I went from a known screw-up to the guy with his shit together. At least in my town. I graduated, joined the military, got out and started a business. After my business stabilized a few months ago, I went home and visited an old HS friend who's mooching off of his mom, just like his dad. Anyway, the friend invited me over for dinner but I showed up early and he ended up flaking. So mom, Dad and I had dinner together. It got pretty tense because Dad didn't like me too much. He thought I was home just to show off my new life. Kind of was, and he didn't care to hear about it at all. But she wouldn't stop asking me about it, causing him to get super annoyed and leave. Our conversation carried on into the evening, and my friend finally stumbled in clearly drunk. His mom just looked embarrassed and disappointed. I took him up to his room and tucked him into bed. When I came downstairs she hugged me telling me how proud of me she was and that watching me turn out like this was heartwarming. She was the first person to say anything of the sort, since to my parents I'm still a screw up. While hugging my lips touched her neck and she squeezed me closer. From there you can all figure out what happened next. I was still home for a few more days after that, and since my parents didn't appreciate my presence, I stayed with them. Interestingly enough, staying with them made the dad warm up to me. As of now, no one else knows except my business partner and the lovely people of Reddit. The way it always starts. Definitely heading off to Literotica after this. Enjoying the video? Leave a comment below. 3. New account for obvious reasons. I was 19, and my girlfriend and I had broken up a few months earlier after she got pregnant, and we went to the local clinic to take care of it. There was a lot of understandable tension about experience. She'd since gone off to college. I'd been working for her mother on weekends for 2 years, doing heavy labor on her small farm, more a giant vegetable garden. Actually, after work, I'd normally take a shower in a small campsite shower stall behind the barn. That was the routine. I rarely saw the mom more than a few minutes I'd ever worked, but she was sweet and seemed to like me a bit, as I was a pretty responsible and hard-working kid. She had no idea why her daughter and I had broken up, so there was no bad blood or anything anyhow. It was a cold day, and she happened to come out just as I was about to take a shower, and suggested that I come inside and use the one there so as not to freeze. I said fine, went into the guest bathroom and had a pleasant warm shower. The same thing happened the next few times. She just told me to go ahead and take a shower so long as it was cold out. I was always really good about not leaving the place a mess, as it was a hell of a lot nicer than showering outside. Then one day, I was showering and she knocked on the door to ask if I needed anything, but I couldn't hear her well, so I yelled at her that I was in the shower and, well, couldn't hear her well. She came into the bathroom and asked if I needed a towel. This was weird as I always had a towel, but I wasn't too freaked out about this. The shower had a tiled wall in front of it, which you had to step around to enter, so she couldn't really see me. I told her I was fine, and to my surprise she walked over to the open space leading to the shower and just stared. Shampoo suds were running down my face, and I was a little embarrassed, but I acted normal and halfway jokingly asked if she wanted to come in. I tend to deal with stress by making jokes. She didn't say a word and disappeared. I was horrified that I'd offended her somehow, but then she stepped into the shower, naked, and came to my side as if yes indeed, she needed a shower. Now way freaked out, I started washing her back, which seemed like the most benign thing I could do. I should mention that this was 34 years ago, and while all of this seems obvious now, at the time I wasn't so sure, until she knelt down and began sucking. I was enormously turned on, still a little freaked out, and she was, quite good. I would have blown my load pretty quickly if my heart hadn't been beating about 1,000,000 miles an hour out of nervousness. As it was, it took a while. She had been divorced almost since XGF was born and as far as I could tell had never dated or expressed much interest in doing so. XGF told me she thought her mom was frigid, which now was impossible to believe. Mom was also an ardent swallower, unlike XGF. As soon as I was done, she left the shower, and when I came downstairs, she made me coffee and neither of us discussed it. The following week was horrible, as I had no idea how I would react, and I vacillated between hoping I would see her the next weekend and praying I wouldn't. But I did, and this time she walked into the bathroom with me and stripped alongside me. If anything, I was more nervous, a common theme in this story, sorry if it's repetitious, and we showered together again. At one point, she turned around and faced the wall, spread her legs a bit and asked me to touch her. I did and things accelerated to the point where it seemed like I should fuck her from behind. But when I tried this, she said no, and like the first time, kneeled to suck me off. I came quickly this time, The next time, she didn't shower with me, but when I did come out of the shower, she led me to her bedroom, we got under the covers and made out like teenagers for a while. It was confusing and weird. Over roughly 20 months, she displayed a lot of masochistic tendencies, but would never let me control her or eat her out or let me fuck her missionary style. Despite being really submissive, she would not touch herself at all and said that she found the idea repulsive. She liked being fucked from behind somewhat roughly, introduced me to anal sex and, as it turned out, liked being throat fucked. I wasn't much into rough sex, but that was all fine stuff. She would let me spend the night in her bed, but she would sleep in another room, would always be up before me, would not have vaginal sex in the morning, though blowjobs and ass fucking were on the breakfast menu. The weird thing is that there seemed to be a tacit rule that we weren't to make much small talk, although she was kind and seemed to like me beyond the sex. Over holidays, I was not to show up. XGF was visiting, but one time she called to say she'd booked a room at a motel, where she would only give me a long and gentle blowjob and a long massage, no sex. On some level, I think she was very lonely, which made her general silence when we were together bewildering. Why did it end? There were about 4 occasions in a row where she made it clear she wanted me to fuck her mouth very violently, which creeped me out. That's not my thing. And the last time I just refused and she started to cry. The final straw was when she asked me if I would really hurt her. I didn't know what she meant and still don't really know, but I felt that things were getting out of hand. So I pretty politely told her so and quit the job. I saw her once more at a shop, 2 years later, and she greeted me exactly as if I were her daughter's high school boyfriend and nothing else and was quite pleasant. She must be in her late 70s now, if she's still around, which is also quite strange. Looks like the posts turned out on topic pretty well and the jokes posts are okay. He's married and still talks about your sister? Brave man. Guarantee she's not gonna mention it lol. I have no real idea how one even convinces a friend that you fucked their mom and them not taking it as a joke. Like, he'd be like haha, fuck you unless you had some extremely specific info that would make him believe you. Could have cared less gold ver 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 cared less. Shibreak? Yes. I have to say, I get that sometimes it seems pretty obvious that a comment is fake, but in reality there is always a possibility a post is fake no matter how realistic it sounds and always a possibility it's real no matter how fake it sounds. I just give everyone the benefit of the doubt unless they straight up contradict themselves or something, and enjoy the comments. A friend's mom happens to be decent friends with my mom. After high school she would come around the house before or after her and my mom would go out. It's also pretty well known that she can get out of control when she drinks. Nothing crazy, but she would be more flirty, sexually aggressive and outspoken. Typical drunk stuff. One night they both came home pretty turned up. As my mom would leave the room to grab drinks, her friend would ask me questions like how many girls I've been with, do I like sex, etc. I was past my naive year and saw where this was going. I always thought she was attractive and all the talk had me hard already, so I grabbed her hand and put it on my dick. She felt it for a few seconds and smiled. She then said something along the lines of if it was anyone else I would. Turns out it didn't matter because I waited until we had all gone to bed and snuck my way to where she was sleeping, aka the living room couch. Had some quick but amazing sex and life went on. I dated this girl, right after school, but it didn't work out. A couple of years later, we started talking again and became friends, which means I was still trying to fuck her but with no luck. One day, she ghosted on me when we were supposed to hang out. She called me later and asked me to come over again. When I got there, she was an emotional wreck. Turns out, she was hanging out with her best friend's dad and they wound up fucking like rabbits. Why she was hanging out with her friend's dad, I'll never know. Her friend found out and called her a slut and ended their friendship. I thought it was a pretty shitty thing to do. Plus I was pissed off about some old guy fucking this chick I was trying to nail myself. So I just let our friendship die off. That was 20 plus years ago. Don't miss her. Once I jerked off on my friend's mom's panties. Left my nut there and everything. Oh god, I hope this one makes it to the top. I want to hear some good stories. And then he woke up. I've had sex with my best friend's dad. To make it more awkward, I'm gay. I was 20 at the time, was out of the closet for about 2 years and open about it. Always had a thing for older men. I just broke up with my ex who at that time was 48. For some context, my best buddy, who is straight, and I hung, and still hang, out a lot. He lived quite some distance from where I lived, so it was pretty normal for us to, when we hang out, to spend the night. My buddy still lived with his parents at that time. His father always had this particular interest in me, ever since I was young. Not in a sexual way, but I'm guessing he kinda always knew I was gay, even before I knew. My buddy and I know each other since we were about 8 years old, so we go back a long time. Always had a very great relationship with his parents, and he with mine. Our parents know each other also. So, ever since I came out of the closet, his dad's interest changed a little bit. He asked me, in private, sometimes a bit more personal things. He knew about my ex. We talked a lot about what it was like dating someone way older. He, the dad, even let me in on his secret, that he was bi. Never cheated on his wife ever, but did experiment with guys before he and his wife met. He told me he really misses the sexual thing with men, but that he is very happy and lucky with his wife and son. On this random Friday night, my buddy and I went out, had a lot to drink. We come home in the middle of the night. For your information, I'm not from the USA. Drinking is allowed from 16 years and up here. So this particular night we came home, went straight to bed, drunk as hell. A few hours later I had to go pee, so got out of bed, went to the toilet, and decided to drink a little bit of water. Came into the living room and their dad was naked, smoking a cigarette. He didn't hear me coming, so he jumped up, apologized, but had nothing to cover himself with. I got a good peek and loved what I saw. Hairy, hung like a horse, but I also knew this was awkward, wrong, and terrible at the same time. But yeah, very drunk, so not the best decisions were made. We started chatting. One thing led to another, and we had amazing sex. Him and I really enjoyed it at that moment. I still think back on it a lot. The morning after we talked about it and both agreed this couldn't happen ever again. Even though it was hot. My buddy and his mother know nothing of it, nor will they ever. We are all still in very good contact with each other, and I'm glad it's never awkward. My best friend is still my best friend. His father I still have good contact with, his mother as well. It was a one-time thing, a mistake, but I'm glad to say that 10 years later everything is still how it should be. TLDR, had sex with my friend's dad, 58 years old at that time, was a really enjoyable one-time thing. Decided it was a one-time thing. Still have a great relationship with the entire family. What if I'm my only friend? But is it gay though? I want to believe. Oh yeah, it will. People love some good old motherfucker stories. Here is my story about sleeping with my best friend's mom. I needed a place to stay, so I rented my best friend's room while he was away. I was a very good tenant. I always paid his rent on time, kept the house clean, and helped out with the man jobs around the house. It was about 6 weeks after I moved in when I was having different thoughts about her. My demeanor changed, my sentences were short and I couldn't keep eye contact. She started to make risque double entendre and I would get visibly red. She had divorced her husband back when we were still in lower school and never really found time to start another relationship. So the thought kind of turned her on, I guess. So one night, when I came home late from a party a little tipsy, she let me know she knew. I was quite embarrassed at first, but she told me it was alright and to take off my pants and lie down. I laid down on the couch, and she grabbed my ankle and knee and began tugging it towards herself. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Pulling your leg," she answered, just like everyone reading this post. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like and hit the bell for more videos. Comment your views.